Hello, IED peeps. We're continuing on our Automata adventure, and now we're going to make that thing virtually in Onshape. So you need to go to your Onshape account, and in there you should already have a folder that says last name, first initial, IED semester 2, because this is where we made our trammel toy. So if you go in there, there's the trammel toy. We're going to make a new one. So I'm going back into my Onshape. Please just double check by going to where you see your folder, right click, click share, and make sure that this is shared with your teacher. If you're in Mr. Nguyen's class, it will be his email, and in my class, you have my email, and it should say can edit. If it says can view, then please edit that and make sure that it can be edited by your teacher. If you didn't do that, then you can come down and share it down here by putting your teacher's email in here and make sure that that is done. All right. Now we're going to go into this folder now where your trammel toy is, but we're going to start a new document. So create document, and you're going to call it Automata. A-U-T-O, whoops, not Auto, Automata. M-A-T-A, Automata. Okay, and we've started a new one, which is going to bring us to our Part Studio 1. And we're going to create the pieces that will make up the box. And they're actually the same size as what you're going to have in your kit. So we're going to try and imitate that, including how we put it together. So let's sketch. I think sketching on the top will be fine. And P gets rid of planes. We're going to use more shortcuts this time. N views normal. And we're going to make 5 rectangles. The first 2, and they can kind of be random. In fact, I can get rid of that origin point if I want. The first one is 6 inches long. And it is 4.2 inches tall. I'm going to go ahead and turn off this origin. So we're going to make another rectangle that exact same size, 4.2 by 6. Down here will be one that is 4 by 4. And there will be the back, which is 4 by 6. And finally, there's going to be one more little one over here that's going to be the body of the crank that is going to be 1.5 long and 0.75 high. All right, so make sure that you have those 5 rectangles. Pause and do it if you need to. Okay, now we're going to need to make some holes in a few of these pieces. The top and the side are going to have holes in them. The top where the risers go through, and the side where the crank goes through. So now this is going to be important. Please pay attention. We're going to go to that first rectangle we made, which is the top. And what's going to be important is we're going to put the crank hole right in the middle of this. But this is 4.2, not 4. So if we put our holes in the middle, it'll be offset, and we want it right in the middle. So we're going to make a series of holes, but not line them up with the middle. So do not have it where that line shows up. We're going to put it kind of, I don't know, come in what you estimate maybe 3/4 of an inch. Again, make sure that little yellow line I'll go too far down, obviously, and that's okay. And you're going to make a circle that is 0.25, because these are 1/4 inch risers that are going to go through there. Now, pattern that hole or that circle in the sketch by coming up here to linear pattern, and we're going to click on that linear pattern. It might be in the drop down. Okay. Click on that circle. Oops, I guess I clicked off of linear pattern. Let me try that again. Linear pattern. Click on that circle. Now it's going to say, which directions do you want to go and how many? Right now, there are 3 of them. I want to make 5 of them. That will be a little bit clearer later. And going at 1 inch spacing just seems to work okay. But make sure it's about, 3/4 to an inch in on each side, because we don't want to be interfering with the sides. So this looks good. And I am going to right or left click on the mouse to place those. And finally, we need them lined up in the right place. So we're going to put a dimension in here that goes from that first one in the pattern in the center point to the front edge is going to be 2 inches. And that way we can be sure that we line them up. Okay. All right. Now we are going to come to the side. We're going to put a hole in the side, represented by a circle. Now this time I do want it lined up in the middle. So I'm going to hover over lines, hover over here until I can make it lined up with both of them. Click out here, click again, and this one is going to be a 5/16 hole. So 5 divided by 16. Good deal. All right, now those little dots should show up, showing that you made those connected to the midpoints. And finally, we are going to come over here to this little rectangle, and we're going to put 2 holes in here, 2 circles that will become holes. Now this one I want lined up horizontally with the midpoint, right about there. And this is going to also be a 5/16, 5/16, enter. And there will be another one on the other side, again, aligned with the center point. That is again 5/16. Okay, now these are going to be located, their center points will be 1/4 of an inch from the edge. So we're going to dimension, click here, and the edge, that's going to be 0.25. And the same thing on the other side, from the edge to the center point, 0.25. All right, we are good to go with starting to put this together now. All right, now we're going to do 3 different extrusions here. So we're going to finish this sketch. The top is going to be thicker than the rest. Let's do the 3 pieces that are the same thickness, which is the side, the bottom, and the back. So we'll extrude. We're going to extrude this shape around the hole, make sure the hole didn't show up, and this one and that one. And they are all going to be a 0.2. That's the thickness of that wood. 0.2. Enter. Now it's going to make all different pieces. Down here we have 3 parts. That's okay. We'll deal with that in a little bit. Let's go back and turn back on sketch 1. And now we're going to make the top by extruding the top. Again, we're going to leave those holes there. Now this one is 1/2 of an inch, 0.5. Enter. And this last one, again, we're leaving the holes there. Actually, this one's a little different, so watch carefully. Going to extrude. Now this one we're going to extrude around the holes and one of the holes. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. Extrude. We're going to go in the middle, not getting the holes, but then fill in one of the holes. Now do make sure that this is going away from your sketch. The other ones don't matter, but this one does. And that one is going to a thickness of 0.75. All right. Good deal. Now the last thing we're going to do is we're going to make this crank out of that little square down there. So the way this is going to work is we're going to extrude that one that already has the hole in it. We're going to extrude that one. You kind of have to zoom around until you can see that hole. We're going to come up that direction, but it's going to go 1.5. That's the little crank part that you turn with your hand. Good. And the last one, now that should have added, if it didn't become the same color, you should go back to that last extrude and make sure it says add and not new, because we want it to be the same part. Okay, and now we are going to extrude out the opposite end of that, this circle right here, but we're going to go the other direction, flip it, and it is going to be 7 inches long because it's going to go through the box and poke out a little bit, just like the actual crank does. And good. All right, we're good making parts. Let's turn off that sketch. Now, it's up to you if you want to leave these all crazy colors and different colors and whatever else, it's fine. But later it's going to kind of start interfering with your vision. So I would recommend making these parts kind of blah, like a wood color. Now, before we do that, we do need to name the parts. So this, we're going to hover over these to find it. It'll highlight the one that it is. And remember, we went top. This next one was the same size as the bottom. This one is the side, and this one's the back. So we're going to name these parts. So I'm going to hover around until I get to the right one. There's the top. Yours might not be in this order. Rename, but you got to make sure that you're identifying the correct ones. That one is the bottom. Make sure that it's the right one, because these two that look similar to each other are not similar. This one and this one are different. This one's is wider than this one is. This one is the side. When we assemble, there will be 2 sides. This one is the back. And this one is the crank. All right. Now, it's pretty easy to make all of these look the same by clicking on all of them to highlight every one. And then we can right click and say, let's edit appearance for these 5 parts. Now I'm going to make it kind of a, maybe that. There we go. I think I'll do that. You do you, but if it's too bright, again, it might kind of interfere later on with what we're doing, because we're going to put cams in there and it starts getting a little crowded. So we're going to do that. All right, now we're ready to put this box together. And we're going to put it together in a similar way that we're really going to build this thing. So go ahead and go to your assembly. And we're going to insert some stuff. So the first thing is we want all these parts in this part studio. So I'm going to go ahead and click Part Studio 1, where the parts are, and click. That gets them all in there. But I also need another side. And there's some washers we're going to need that I just realized I forgot about. So leave this for a second, say, okay, let's go back to our Studio 1. I'm going to make one more part that I forgot about. Sorry about that, folks. Here we go. Let's go ahead and sketch on the top. That's where we sketched before, or whatever plane you sketched on before. Actually, it doesn't really matter. N will view me normal to it. And somewhere, it doesn't really matter where. I'll just do it over here where I have some room. We're going to make a washer. So this is going to have an inner hole of 5/16, like we've done the other one, 5/16, and then an outer of 0.75. And we're going to then extrude that to just 0.1, a little over 1/16 of an inch. And that's going to be our washer. Now, it's going to make some weird color. I think I will take that part and make it look kind of like a washer. There's kind of a whitish, silverish. That's good. And let's name the part as washer. All right, back to the assembly, where now I can go ahead and insert 2 of those washers. one for each side. The washer helps the crank not bind up against the box and spin a little bit more smoothly. All right, we're ready to go. Now, it is very, very important that we identify which part is which. Find where the bottom is. Okay, there's the bottom. That's what we're going to kind of build on. So I want to do this. This is very important that we're going to take the bottom and we're going to fix it in place. So click on bottom and fix it. What that means is it's going to hold it there so it doesn't get wonky when we're trying to move things around. All right, now we are going to start putting this thing together. It is really important that you try to understand what we're doing before we do it. So for example, we're going to put one of the sides or the back onto the bottom. And what you have to understand is what corners are going to be hooked together. So I'm going to see if I can get in on this. So in other words, this corner right here will be locked on this piece to that corner on this piece, right? So, so you're going to want to think about that before you do it, because if you try and follow me, you should be able to do it, but it might be a little different. So you're going to have to use your brain, folks. Sorry. So I'm going to connect on the bottom, that corner right there, to the back corner right there. Okay, so we're going to start with that first. So we're going to use our mates that we've done before. A fastened mate, because I don't want it moving around. So I'm going to fasten it, and I'm going to choose to go. I tend to like it kind of coming outward to the right. That's just the way I like to do it. So you hover around until I have that blue line going the way I want it to go. And then I'm going to come over here and I have to think about it a little bit. Wait, which corner do I want? I want that corner right there because it's going to sit on top of. Now that way the blue line's going the wrong way. There's the way I want it to go. Click. Now it still might not be right. See that? It's actually inside of the other piece, but the corners are connected together, right? So I just have to flip it once. Okay, sometimes you have to flip it 2 or 3 times to get it to go to the right spot. Okay, so again, this isn't going to be perfect for everybody to follow exactly what I'm doing. You have to think, you have to go put corners together. You now have to make sure that it is the way you thought it was going to be. And sometimes undo is your friend because you'll make mistakes. All right, but that looks good. Good. So I've got the back now sitting on the bottom. Now the sides are going to go inside of this kind of L shape. So I'm going to do that next. Fasten. I'm going to do that corner right there. And this time, this one's going to face kind of upward because this one's going to turn. There we go. Got to zoom back. Yep, even that one didn't go. So I'm either going to have to flip the direction. Nope. Or rotate it around until it gets to the right spot. There we go. Good deal. I'm looking at it. It's looking good. If it wasn't, I would just undo it and try it a different way. So let's fasten. Put that way and have to think for a second. That way. All right, and again, I'm going to have to flip it because it's not. There we go. And good. All right. Now, the top is going to go on. Now, it is very, very important that I put this the right way with these holes lined up, because if you'll remember, those holes aren't centered. So I'm going to come down here, use my measure tool, and see. I'm going to click from there to this edge and see what that distance is. Now it's measuring from the edge of it. So this way, I'm going to try measuring the other. Let's measure the other way and see which way is longer. So I'm going to measure now from here to that back edge, and that is 2.075. So if the way we put it together, it should be that this is the front. Okay, so we're going to hook that together. So I'm trying to think of which corners I want. I think I'm going to do this corner right here. And this corner right here. And that looks good. All right. Looking good so far. All right, now we're going to put the crank in. So we're going to go and fasten these washers in. So we're going to go fasten. We're going to choose the very middle of that, and we're going to come over here to this outside edge and click. Now, right now, you can tell it's going inside. I don't want that. So you might have to flip it to go to the outside. That's good. And we're going to put that washer on the other side. Same thing. Click and click. And again, it's wrong side. Good. And last thing we're going to do to construct, then there's only one more thing to do after that, is we're going to put the crank in. But the crank we want to spin. So we're not going to do a fastened mates. Let's get rid of that. I want it to revolve. So we're going to use the Revolute Mate. And we're going to choose this circle right here. You can see it showing up inside. And spin around a little bit. And we're going to choose this. Now, I do want it on the right side when the opening is facing me. We're all going to be right-handed. Sorry, left-handed people. But I know you guys are always mistreated, huh? All right. And if it didn't go the right way, if it might look like this. Again, flip it so that it's going that way. Good. And let's see how it did. I'm going to get rid of that. Let's go to this Revolute, right click and animate it. And let's see if it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Woohoo! Yay. I can flip it so it's going the other way. All right. So we are looking good. All right. Now, last thing I want you to do. You're going to put your name on this thing so that it's we can identify it, keep honest people honest, stuff like that. So on this front edge of the box, here's what's going to happen. We're going to come up to this part, right click, and we should be able to edit in context. There it is. So we're going to edit this part in context. Notice we can see the rest of the assembly. And what I'd like you to do is sketch on this front surface. Now, this time we're not going to be able to view normal because things are going to get in our way. So although we can come down here and let's turn off anything that's in my way, like the side. That's good enough. Okay, now I can view normal. And what I want you to do is we're going to make a text box right somewhere along in here, but do not come all the way to the edges because like if you have a J in your name, it's going to come below that. So we're going to go up here to text and come down. We're not lining up with the top. We're going to come in here about like so, click, and then drag, and then click again. So it looks approximately like that. And you're going to put your name in there. Good. Okay, and notice that all the text is inside of that. See how the G comes down and the little J comes up? I want to make sure that those are not protruding beyond the edges of the box. If it is, you'll have to do that again. Okay, but it does need to be big enough where it can be obviously seen. And we are going to extrude and make sure that you don't just choose like that or those inside pieces won't show up. So you have to go on the inside of one of the characters. Oh, come on. Sometimes it won't. There we go. Click. Okay. And we're going to go inward. We're going to go in. Actually, I take that back. Let's go out a little bit, but we're only going to come out a tiny little bit, 0.01. and it will still show if we do that. Good. And last thing is we're going to make that a different color so it's prominent. So go over to Extrude 7, and we are going to add appearance to feature and make that something that is going to show. And last, go to assembly, and we've got a box with our name on it. Get it to where you can kind of see everything like this. Take your screenshot, turn it in. Next time, we'll start talking about cams and motion and making this thing work. See you next time.